chess friends. Today we continue our journey in the chess psychology. Once again, we are together with the French psychologist Richard Buono. And today we will discuss one very interesting subject which is related to the self-hypnosis. And actually, Richard is going to explain how self-hypnosis works. We will see the theoretical framework of this tool, and then, of course, as always, we are going to examine how chess players can boost their tournament performance and psychological stability in general by using these powerful methods. So, hello again, Richard. I'm pleased to meet you and to discuss this fascinating subject with you today.
Hello and greetings to everyone and to you in particular. And thank you very much for this invitation and allow me to speak about these marvelous things. Thank you.
So, before we start discussing the subtleties of this very interesting subject, can you tell us what is the self-hypnosis all about? Let's start with some general presentation.
Self-hypnosis or auto-hypnosis is a way to apply the principles of hypnosis to yourself. But this is very interesting to note that every hypnosis is self-hypnosis. Because when someone tries to hypnotize someone else, he has to accept the suggestion to himself. So it's exactly the same that he would be doing these suggestions to himself because he had to accept it. So on the very basic, let's say, approach, you consider that every hypnosis is self-hypnosis. The self-hypnosis is a very powerful tool that can be used in many, many, many ways. It's at first sight looking a bit more complicated because you say that you need someone to interact with. But in fact, you quickly notice that you can bypass this problem very easily. And it is true that, of course, you need some training to get the best out of it, because like everything in the world, you know that you need to train to get a better performance. The other point about auto-hypnosis is that it's always based on the same pattern. An auto-hypnosis is a preparation, is a particular script, and this is a conclusion. And you have to do some induction, initial induction, like every hypnosis, and you have to do a suggestion, which is the goal that you're pursuing when you do hypnosis, and then the conclusion. So it is very modular. You can adapt it to your needs. And this is also an opportunity for me to remind what is the goal of hypnosis in general. Hypnosis goal is to get from you a particular type of resources that you're going to enhance and then you're going to increase. It's not a magic wand that will make you do something that you're not supposed to do. For instance, you cannot just with a suggestion tell you, okay, from now you will be able to speak Spanish if you don't speak Spanish. But if you have a certain amount of knowledge, you will be able to get almost 100% of it. If you have a certain potential, physical potential, you're going to have a way to have 100% of it. And sometimes, in some ways, you have a boost margin that you can increase from a regular activity. And this, of course, is the first goal of hypnosis. The second, and this is probably the most attractive, it's that you can also act on some unconscious processes because you're not capable to focus on some internal processes easily or not at all. For instance, you cannot always focus on, let's say, some chemical exchanges in the blood. You cannot easily, at least, control your heartbeats with your mind. You cannot, for instance, increase the amount of serotonin or dopamine produced, and such and such and such. And you have also unconscious processes linked to emotions. For instance, controlling fear, controlling stress, controlling some things you do when you sleep. For instance, some people are, doing some jaw contraction when they sleep, and this the kind of things you cannot control because it's done while you're sleeping, and you can program your mind to act on many aspects of your body and your mind. So this is exactly what it means. You can do like mechanical intervention with hypnosis on all these processes or these resources. You can also, for instance, impact your memory. And this is exactly the same as we were talking about resources, because memory is a resource. Some people have a knowledge, but you have to reconstruct the access path to it because it's lost. If you don't take a road for a long time, you might be lost because when you drive, you are not sure that you took this way left or right. With the memory is exactly the same thing. If you practice a path, it's easy. If you don't, you might lose a little bit the memory about how to find this path back. And hypnosis is there to enhance the resources to be able to reactivate many paths. So this is an excellent way to increase and maintain resources that you're supposed to have. For a chess player, like I said, if you know the Sicilian defense, you will keep up, of course, your knowledge on an efficient way. But of course, if you don't know it, there is no way by hypnosis to get the knowledge without learning it in a normal state. Voila. So this is the purposes of hypnosis, and this is the scope of application. And through these aspects, you can apply these techniques by two ways. You have an interactive way with a partner, and you have a self way to activate it by yourself. And this is the purpose of this today's session.
So very well. As far as I understood, first of all, we can apply the hypnosis in order to boost our performance by using our internal resources, which is very important. Also, the hypnosis can help us manage our emotions and, of course, even improve the performance in terms of our vegetative nervous system and control some inner impulses. That's why all these aspects should be considered as vital, not only for chess players, but for humans in general. But in order to be able to make the hypnosis, the brain should be put in a special state, right? So that the message and the suggestion becomes available and effective, right?
That is right. That is right. Also, hypnosis uses a particular way to make yourself activate those resources. This is going through some complex processes, of course, because it's not very clear even today the way why it works this way. Let's say there is a lot of hypothesis, but it's not confirmed, and probably it will one day. But you must have some, let's say, um, points to refer to which correspond to your concrete reality. You cannot just use a language abstract. Let me explain. For instance, for the memory, you cannot say access to the square B2 and get the information which is locked in this square. You have to create a scenario where such object will become a resource, such room will become a perimeter, and this is called a metaphoric approach. So many scenarios are metaphoric oriented, and you have to use hypnosis this way, because the brain doesn't like abstract things, because when it's too abstract, it fills the empty blocks with some symbols. And this is why, for instance, when you sleep, you make some funny dreams sometimes and you wonder, what was that? It's simply because you have some blanks created by some abstract things, and your mind try to fill the blanks with some symbols. For instance, if you think that going to holidays is, I don't know, to be on a boat, you will dream about the boat. Because boat represents holidays, and there is all, let's say, everyone's got its own, let's say, codex to go through. And with hypnosis, you have to find generic codexes. You have to create scenarios through these considerations.
Very interesting. So once the general framework is a bit more clear, we can start talking in a more concrete way. Okay, probably not still for how chess players might use the hypnosis, but we can start discussing some basic protocols if you don't have something to say additionally.
We can go straight to the point very easily from a very 101, let's say, approach. Self-hypnosis is basically, let's say, requiring, like every hypnosis, an initial state, which is called induction. Induction is the initial way to go from a regular state, like we are now, to an hypnoid state. Suppose we imagine we have a scale from 0 to 10, okay? 0 would be a normal state. And let's say at least you have to reach the first level, okay? From 0 to 10, at least to go to 1. You notice probably when you're listening to someone for a long time, he speaks, you start to lose a bit of track about what he says, because you have some sleepy sensation, and you just, because the voice of the guy, maybe because of the ambience or whatever. I'm not talking about sleepy because you made a good meal and it's 2 o'clock, you didn't have your coffee. I'm talking about regular things, like a regular noise. For instance, you're in the train, you lean like that, and you hear the voice of the sound of the tracks, and it creates some kind of sleepy state. This sleepy state is exactly the same that the hypnoid state, which is a release, a state of release of your mind and release of your body. And this is the equivalent of what we try to achieve in the induction state. The induction is a mechanical action, which could be using words, using other mechanical things, which go into details later. But this creates this particular state. So induction is the very first phase, creating this access to this level of hypnosis, which is in hypnoid states. And this is only when you are at least in hypnoid states that you can receive the suggestion, because otherwise it doesn't change anything. But if you receive a suggestion when you are in hypnoid states, you have more chances to accept it and to achieve it. Which comes to the second part. After you have reached these hypnoid states, you have to increase the state. Basically, you go from 1 to 2, 3, 5, and such. So this is a way to go deeper into this state. So this is a second phase. And this is only after that you place ideally the suggestion. When the more you are in a deeper state, the best is the effect of the suggestion. Let me explain you why, because it is very important to understand why. Because you might say, what is the difference between receive a suggestion when you're in a normal state and where you're in a deeper state?
Yeah, this is very interesting point, and let's go a little bit in detail about that.
Because you have your own filters. You might not believe in yourself. You might think, yes, but if I do that, there will be this or that, or this I cannot do because of this or that. You have all this bunch of filters that are created by your life and experience. Okay. So you create some defensive attitude, which could be very limiting. It limits you to do something because you think you cannot do it. So these filters are very strong when you are in a normal state, but when you're not, they doesn't exist. They vanished. So this is why you need not to be in a normal state, because your criticism of yourself, all your filters will be deactivated. Then it will work. Okay? And this is all about hypnosis. You have to bypass conscience, the conscious state, with all this background stuff that created by your life, saying, yes, but I failed already 3 times. There I'm not capable enough to do that. I don't have memory. I cannot remind me things and such and such. So this is all these filters you set up, that makes you as a human being with all the limitation that you applied to yourself. And the goal of a therapy is to get rid of them on a normal state. But when you didn't follow a therapy, you have to find another way to bypass these limitations. So you go down on a state where the conscience is, put apart, sleeping, out of the way, and then the suggestions comes in. Another interesting thing that it would be good also to mention is that this is why when you're a kid, when you are at least between 5 and 15, or let's say 5 and 10, because it will make the things more clear. This is why it's very dangerous to say things like, oh, you never understand anything. Oh, you're a stupid kid or whatever. Because as they're very young, their barriers, their capability to filter is not in place yet. So they get everything. It's all the way around. When you're a baby, you don't have all these things up. This is also why you learn faster when you are a kid, because you don't have all these filters that limitates you, saying you will not be able to memorize all this, all that, all that. When you're a kid, you don't care. You just do the things. You don't ask yourself all these questions when you're an adult, And this is why also hypnosis is very strong with kids, because it's multiplying the efficiency of bypassing filters that doesn't exist finally. So this is all about hypnosis, and this is why we need to put ourselves in a state where all these limitations, all these filters are completely neutralized. And then the action of the suggestion will be full effect.
Very interesting. So probably in our later discussions, we will see how exactly to switch all these filters off in order to put the brain in hypnotic state. And then, of course, we're going to discuss different types of suggestions, hypnotical suggestions, that will be able to help chess players boost their performance. But if we are done with the theoretical framework and the main goal of the hypnosis, can you just tell us which aspects of the hypnosis we're going to examine for chess players, and how our future discussion will be structured?
I'm going to answer this question in a very simple way. What are the main qualities and resources the chess player needs to be a good player? Okay. So the most, let's say, typical enemy is the stress. Okay.
Yes.
Because the stress is killing your performance, is killing your resources. It's like a well where everything goes in, and suddenly you can't think properly. The stress is very limiting. The other thing you need is certainly to believe in yourself, because when you play and you limitate because of some, let's say, criteria. For instance, you are 2,500 Elo rating, you're going to play again, it's a 2,700 rating. It's a super GM, and you're not a super GM. Okay, so you normally will have to face a steamroller, Well, maybe not at that level, but let's say when there's a huge difference or a reputation of a player, or because you lost your last 3 games, or whatever situation creates a limitation, you have to believe in yourself. So you have to remind you, what player would you be if you wouldn't have these limitations? These beliefs, because this is causes by beliefs, yes. Okay, so this is probably the second thing. The third thing, I would say that the memory is very important. Basically, will you be capable to have your memory up and functional? But it is not only that, it's also the way you're going to use this information. It's not only to have it. You have to get the elements, and you have to organize and use them. Okay. For instance, a chess player needs to adapt also. It's not just a fact of giving back a knowledge and that's it. No, he has to adapt, because every game is different. Every game has its own downside, upsides, and you have to adapt. So this is the way you're going to manipulate this information that is important. So calculation, processing, evaluating a position, whatever, even the knowledge of your opponent, for instance, and maybe I might surprise you, but it's also very interesting to focus on your opponent and to see if he feels confident or not, for instance, how to observe him. And maybe we will have a discussion about observing the opponent, because there's so many things to learn about when you observe someone. The way he stands, the way he look at the chessboard, the way he writes the things, the way he walk around, the way he's dressed, okay? And believe me, there's tons of information. And when you have the choice between 3, 4 variations and you know well your opponent, it's a very important advantage because you might know, you might anticipate also the way he plays. And this is really easy because I'm sure that a lot of experienced players would tell you that some players has a typical profile with some sharp variations or some very solid and defensive variations. And what you can expect from a player to be playing sacrifices very often. He tries to make the position more complex because he likes it, or he likes to bluff, or whatever. And this is a clear advantage, I think.
I understand. Also, I would like to touch on a slightly different subject, which is, by the way, also closely related to hypnosis. In chess, it's very important to have enough mental energy and motivation in order to achieve good results. And that's how we can discuss the so-called dopamine circuits and how the hypnosis can help us manage our dopamine levels. As I have read some time ago, according to researches, dopamine is not so closely related to the pure enjoyment that we feel from doing something, but it mostly features our driving force to do something, our motivation. And in my opinion, we can also discuss some important stuff related to dopamine and how we can manage it through the lenses of hypnosis.
Yes, but because there is a but.
Okay, as always.
I would say, if I would, for instance, take the example of a chess game, you cannot understand the concept of dynamic play before trying at least to master the opening principles. You cannot examine, for instance, some very, very small advantage tactics if you don't have a clear plan. What I mean is that it is like focusing on narrowing things more, maybe important at a certain level, which requires first you master the principle of the basis principle.
Of course.
With this type of things you're saying, I would say that if already someone is capable to get all this memory, no stress, and full confidence, it will be so much increase that these dopamine things will look like this, I think, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, and also the process works vice versa. If you manage to accomplish all these things that you have just pointed out, your dopamine levels will naturally improve.
Exactly.
Very well.
Because it's all a chain reaction.
Okay, so thank you for this fruitful discussion. I think that today we managed to establish the basis of what will follow next. Now the conceptual framework of the hypnosis is clear. We know that how the hypnosis works, the main goals of hypnosis. We know that first we need this state of induction to induce our brain in the state of hypnosis, and only then the suggestion might become workable and efficient. And then, of course, we are going to examine different types of suggestions which are related to different types of goals. But this will follow in the next discussion. Thank you very much, Richard, for
Thank you
this
very much, and see you soon.
interesting discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you.